Alex, you want to start? Shiv, anybody?
A different approach, maybe, to
Shiv,
something,
different approach.
different procedures, another way, learning.
Something new into the business
Change.
which we are going to start,
Yes.
some
Okay.
new products we are going to launch, some change in the management.
Okay.
So according to me, the change it can be means not vast change. We would change in a different level, in the different functions, means, but not up to a large extent, up to a limit. Few changes would be there according to the requirement, according to the environment.
Why you are saying it's a small change? I'm just asking change. Or you are
Because
saying
we
normal
can't
change
do
is
complete change in one go because it's a risky. If we do change, then there is a risk also. So we can't do change means overall change in a one go. We have to do step by step. We have to take small steps.
right.
But I
Okay.
think
Yeah, that's correct. If it is in your control, if it is in our control, obviously we want to go less risky way. Right? Okay. So basically, there can be different understanding of the word change, and you guys have even said it rightly. So change is, in simple word, uh, doing things differently. Right? We'll have different meaning if you go to a dictionary. What we are trying to understand here is impact of change and why impact of change. So we have to see what we are studying. We are studying how to make a strategy. So in strategy, what will affect? Sometimes what happen, if I link to the chapter first, rational model. Why we are saying rational model or long term planning is not effective? Because the market is changing, the business is changing, the environment is changing, isn't it? That was the first disadvantage. And why freewheeling will work in certain business? Because it will react to change very fast. Therefore change becomes a very important part of strategy making. And what is change? Change is something which is inevitable. Can we avoid change? Even if you see at a personal level, we human beings also have a biological clock. If somebody is 20, their diet and routine will be different. Somebody 40 will be different. Somebody 60 will be different. A child will be different, isn't it? Change is the only constant, even in personal life, in business life, professional life, everywhere. So who will succeed in the change? Maybe if you read a lot of self-help books also, I'm just going a little off topic to make you understand. They will mention, to be successful in any field, you have to be change adapt. You should be adaptive to be changed, right? Because what happened, as a human being, we don't like changes. Even if we are sleeping in some bed, we are comfortable to sleep on the same bed. If you're eating in certain places, you will be comfortable to sleep in that position only. You must have noticed, when you change house, when you change country, when you're going for work, starting will be difficult for you to adjust, isn't it? So what it tells us, change is uncomfortable, but at the same time, change is only constant. So we can say we have to be uncomfortable, then only growth will come at a personal level also, at a organization level also, right? Here we'll see change from the strategic perspective. Make sense?
From the strategic perspective means, like, from the,
While
like,
making a strategy, while selecting a strategy, E3 is what
okay,
we are making a strategy.
strategy, correct. So, like, let's say we are going with the rational strategy, like the traditional approach.
Okay,
We can make a plan and everything, right? And list down all those factors, and then we can do this changes, right?
right. So first point is triggers of changes. Like Pooja was saying, we like to go step by step, we'll take less risky. Yes, obviously that is a very good idea, but we can do that only when change is internal. For example, you have to move, and it's your own decision. There is no external pressure. So that time you can do it slowly. But at the same time, you have external pressure or some problem coming in, or any threat to the business, then we cannot do it slowly. Sometimes what will happen, you have to adopt quickly, or our business will go out of market, or we'll lose the competitive edge. So therefore, first thing to understand is look at the triggers of change. What is triggers of change? It can be divided into two categories. First is external, second is internal. So as the name says, external is it is forced from outside pressure. Let's say work from home. Okay. So work from home was still relevant before COVID, isn't it? But that time companies were flexible. And when lockdown happened, so work from home become normal, right? It was obvious and forceful. So imagine a company who was already doing this, for them it would have been an easier. Imagine a company who never tried work from home. So you can imagine how much problem they would have faced. And maybe they would have lost a lot of business, lot of inefficiencies, cyber security issues. Why? Because it was an external trigger. Another example you can take is when there is a disruption in the market. Let's say our competitors is charging certainly 50% less than us with the same quality or similar thing. So what will happen? Again, you will have to change. You have to change the pricing, because especially if you are selling products which is price sensitive. Let's say we are selling food items, FMCG products. So what will happen? You have to react to change. You cannot say, oh, my quality is good. I am in business from decades. This should not happen. Can we do anything that time?
No.
Right? So when external change come, it is very strong. Either we have to adopt or we'll go out of the business. Therefore, the terms like scenario planning and everything what we have seen in the previous chapters are also part of it. So they don't want external trigger to affect us directly. Rather, we should be ready for it. If you are ready, any kind of change is very good. So what are the sources external changes can come in? Environmental pressure for change can be done into two groups: general indirect and direct action. So general indirect environmental factors, this can be identified using the familiar PESTEL framework. What is PESTEL framework? Political, economical, social, technological, environmental, and legal. Second, task direct action factors. This can be assessed using Porter's 5 forces model. Power of buyers, power of suppliers. If that things change, again your business ecosystem will change. Okay, let's take an example. If we talk about Saefwell, what do you think can be an external trigger? Any example? Or security company in general?
Yeah, it's
The technological in the PESTEL, from the PESTEL, technological changes can be, there can be all kind of changes. Political
Any
can
example
also.
specific?
Okay.
Even in exam, when you write, no, we should never
Maybe
say there are a lot of things we can do. We should say this thing. Be very specific.
I see there's an article in the
Yeah,
precinct, so
I
maybe
thought
changes in minimum wages.
Okay, that's a good example, but it's very basic. This affect every industry. Alex, can you think
Yeah.
specific to our industry?
Yeah, means in the pre-scene it was written that from 2025 a new rule would be there. So there would be that digital
reporting actually.
transformation. Or we have to report on the uh, digital strategies also. So that is a thing which would affect.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else apart from pre-scene on your own? I want one example at least.
Power of customers, because
Okay.
the customers are very limited actually for this business Saefwell.
Okay.
So if they find different supplier for this kind of services, they might shift to the different vendor if they're providing. So it's a threat to the organization Saefwell.
But this is not a trigger for change. This can happen anytime. I'm asking change. Okay. One example I can give. This may be part of legal or regulation. Let's say our team, when they're providing physical security, they used to carry weapons. Now government has says for private security firms, they are not allowed to carry weapon. So what will happen? Maybe the client is not happy because they feel like without a weapon, especially in certain places, they will not be good enough because the threat is more. Now government says will not allow private people to use weapon. Straight away your efficiency can get affected. What else? Think from a very bigger perspective. How this industry can get affected. Hello?
Yeah.
Shiv, you have done the
let-
research. You said you went through the companies, so you might have some idea.
Yes, I was just thinking that because now there are a lot of securities companies, they are doing this drone aerial drone way of to guarding the places, right? To view and to check whether everything is safe or not. So in that way, if customer is asking to to require this in this way, to have this system in place. So in that way, Saefwell has to modify their structure of doing the operational business. They have to change the way they were doing traditionally. So they have to use also the new technology of the things like aerial drone and everything to use in their own business and to apply this one. So this is another change which I say.
Right. So can you put that under technology? Let's say everybody is using drones and we are not using it. That means there's a demand for that change which is externally triggered. It can be drone, it can be artificial intelligence, it can be robots, it can be anything. That change is coming from technology. The biggest physical security, if you want to see, the most sophisticated, now it is coming in Paris Olympics. There have been already some documentaries on YouTube. You'll get an idea, I think. Okay. Moving on. Next is internal triggers. You understood external triggers?
From the outside, actually.
Yeah. Alex, Pooja?
Yes, in external, mainly pestle and reporters, 5 forces would be there.
So it can be general. I mean, when you talk about industry, like minimum wage, or you have to provide, or let's say economic situation of the country you're operating, this is across industries. So this can affect our industry also. Next is internal trigger. Internal trigger means it is decided by us. It's not forceful. The reason for change within the organization could span any functional area of operation or level of control from strategic to operational. For example, location change, outsourcing, roster or flexible working. Roster is about the timings and everything. Promotions, transfers, rules, training development. So internal triggers can happen. Let's say you got a new CEO in the company, you got a new chairperson, new leaders are coming into the business. A company wants to take more risk taking approach. A company wants to do cost cutting. Company wants to do restructuring, or they want to get rid of some employees, or they want to do mass hiring. That can be anything. That is internal triggers. And I think for internal triggers, all of you can have so many examples, because constantly in every organization there is some kind of change is happening. Change can be as simple as you're upgrading to some other software. Am I correct?
Correct.
However, one thing is there, some changes can be very big, some changes can be very small. Normally, changes are kind of evolution, small things. Because when they do at a very bigger pace, it will be riskier. That's what we will talk about in the next section. Classifying change. Change can be classified by the extent or scope of the change required and the speed with which the changes is to be achieved. So when things are very fast and at a very big change, that is revolution, which is very rarely happened. Why? Because it's very risky. So basically, we can divide the changes. First, we can see how big the change is. For example, now you already use a software and now you want to upgrade to other software or the company. So change is actually not very big, a small change. Second category, we have to see the speed at which you are forced to implement it. Let's say you want to do in 1 month, you want to do in 6 months. When they are doing in 6 months, things become easier and practical. But the easier thing also you have to do in 1 month will become difficult for you. So two categories, how big the change is and how fast we want to achieve. That will determine how difficult the change management will be. Same thing applies for external also, internal also. Why COVID was very difficult, lockdown was very difficult? Because the change was also big, the speed was also fast. Just in 2-3 days, government says, you have to complete lockdown. Imagine we have 6 months time to prepare, then it would have been better managed. Yes?
Correct. Like even we can say from the company perspective, like the Nokia company, right? In the mobile industry also, right? The changes are very fast. If you look at that, from that
Yes.
normal button,
Changes are
we move.
constantly happening.
Hmm.
Small changes is always there, but in tech industry, we can say sometimes big changes also come at a faster pace.
Correct.
So different types of change. It's not mandatory to remember the name, but it's just good for the understanding. First is transformation. Entails changing an organization's culture. It is a fundamental change that cannot be handled within existing organizational paradigm. Is likely to be top-down process driven by major external events. Realignment, it does not involve a fundamental reappraisal of the central assumptions and beliefs. So realignment is like, I think we'll have the 2x2 model. Yeah, this is better to understand. Okay. Four sections we have. First, if you talk about transformation. So what is transformation? The extent of change. Extent means big change or small change. It's a small change, right? Speed of change. Speed of change is fast or slow. It is slow change. It is slow and small. That means transformation is easier. It is known as evolution. So when we talk about our previous generations and in the history, what we say, human have evolved. Isn't evolution happen? Why we use the word evolution? Why? Because the changes were small and the speed was also slow.
Sorry,
Second,
Misbah.
yeah.
Is transformation not big changes but small?
Sorry, Alex, can you repeat?
Yes, transformation is it not big changes but it's implemented slowly?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Slow and small. The extent of change is also small, just like you're moving from one software to another, and you don't have just 1 month to do it. They're giving you 6 months because it's a very big organization, and you have to, carry out your day-to-day routine as well. So most of the changes what we see is evolution by the external factors also, by the internal factors also. Therefore, it's not a very big stress because it's on. Got it? Next is realignment. In realignment, the speed is still slow, but the change is little bigger because we are adapting. So it's known as adaptation. We're adapting to the new things. Change undertaken to realign the way in which the organization operates, implement in a series of steps. So maybe we are giving time, but the change is very big. For example, companies were doing everything physically. Now they are digitizing the business. So change is very big, but they are giving time for it. Another type of change is reconstruction. Reconstructions changes undertaken to realign the way in which organization operates. So what we are doing here, as you see, speed is very fast. Also, we can say big bang, and time, we are giving decent time to it. We are realigning to it. That is called reconstruction. And the last one is revolution, transformational change. That occurs via simultaneous initiatives on many fronts. So if you talk about COVID, then revolution change happened in the business. And companies or the business which were not able to do revolutionary change, they collapse. Why? Because the speed was also big and the extent was also very high, or fast and high, we can say. And especially if this change is external, then the problem will be very big. Normally, internally, we will not do revolution until the company is about to collapse, because it will be very risky. So more likely to be forced and reactive. Reactive means something happened and we are reacting to it because of the changing competitive conditions that the organization is facing.
And Misbah, reconstruction, can you just repeat once again?
Yeah, reconstruction, if you see the speed will be same as revolution, that means fast, but
Okay.
it is not from many fronts. Maybe you are doing small changes in different areas. Speed is fast, but the change is small.
Okay.
Maybe your business was already digitized and everything, but you have just added a cybersecurity component to that, and company wants to do it, let's say in 2 months. Some target is there, everybody has to go through the training and update. The thing is, you are just layering on the digitization which is already done. That can be one example. So if you
So
see
here
around us,
written change undertaken to realign the ways. So what is this?
change undertaken to realign the way in which the organizations operate, with many initiatives implemented simultaneously. Realign, what do you understand by the realign? Realign means you're already doing something. I gave you the example. No, you're already, let's say the company is digitized. Now you're adding a cybersecurity component to it. You are realigning. Realigning means something which is already exist. But in revolutionize, you are adding something new directly. I mean, we can take different examples also, but realigning, what they're trying to say is the speed is big, but the change is not that big. The change is small. You're already doing it, but you're just adding certain things to that. If you
Got it,
look
sir.
closely, even in your day-to-day life, we can just see whatever change is happening. Let's say what change we see in the environment. How you'll classify? Now we have so much pollution and so many issues happening globally. What do you think the speed of change? I mean, it can be subjective according to the country we are operating, but nowadays this has become a very hot topic. So can we say it is a big bang change? The speed is fast? Because countries which are very cold now, they are seeing very hot temperatures, and countries which were hot, they are seeing rain nowadays. A lot of climate change is happening. Because it was difficult. Let's take an example. In Dubai, to see rain was very difficult. But now it's raining like anything.
Correct.
So environmental change, if we say it's big bang, but now extent of change can be depending on the geography. It can be revolution in some places, or it can be reconstruction. Mostly we can say it is reconstruction or realignment. Why we are talking so much about artificial intelligence nowadays? There were technological improvements happening, because artificial intelligence is about revolution. The speed is also big bang, that means fast, and extent of change is also big. So wherever it will go, it will create a revolution in that industry, that sector, and that role. Therefore, there is a hot topic. Imagine if it is a incremental and transformation, then it's a evolution that is been happening every year. Small changes, not something big. All right.
So evaluation is very simple, like slow and
Slow and small.
small. And
That is
revolution
happening
is
every
big
day.
and fast. Yeah.
Sorry, revolution is
And
just
revolution is
opposite to
big
that.
and fast.
Yes.
Opposite to that. And adoption is small. No, big, but speed is small.
Speed is slow or small. Yeah.
Small. Yeah. Okay.
Then next thing about change is the culture. I was just saying in the start, as an individual, if we are comfortable for a change, what will happen? We'll adapt fast, right? And when we talk about individual, or we can say group of individual becomes a company, becomes an organization. And especially what happens at the board level? What is the culture of the board? Imagine a company where they work so much on closed door policy. There are a lot of hierarchy levels, so change implementation can be difficult. And if you take another organization where the CEO is also approachable, He's even approaching to the interns and everyone, right? So what will happen? They'll have a good sense of trust with each other, and the change can be easier, because same thing happens, two companies will react in a different way. So why this happened? Because of the culture. Usually these things are not seen physically, but once you work in an organization, you'll understand it. Sometimes what happens, people say, salary was good, but because of the culture I am switching. So what is culture? Culture is a set of values, guiding beliefs, understandings, and ways of thinking that are shared by the members of an organization and is taught to new members as correct. It represents unwritten feeling part of the organization. So what it includes? They have given some points. You tell me from your experience what makes a culture.
The working time, the atmosphere of the office. These are the, and the employees
Timings,
are,
very important point. Certain places they will mandatorily make you overwork. Maybe it's not that in developed country people leave on time, but in some countries it's normal. Manager will expect you to work extra. Then only
correct.
they'll consider this person is working hard. Whereas in some countries, let's say in US, if somebody is working extra hours, they will say, oh, maybe this guy is very slow in working. Therefore, he or she needs more time. But yeah, that is part of a culture. What else?
Then colleague behavior, like, the way HR is strict, like, nobody, tell anything like, in a bad manner or something. So that also it's part of culture. So very
Right.
friendly, atmosphere.
So what you say about time, it was routines and rituals. Then you said about how you are dealing with the colleagues. So this can be part of stories and myths, or this can be part of the values of the organization. Okay, others? You can just share your example. We'll try to fit in. If you do
So
that,
your
you don't need to
management
remember it. You'll
style,
understand. Sorry,
management
Alex.
style in your organizational hierarchy, reporting lines.
Very good. Management style. Certain managers are kind of democratic. They'll ask you for your opinion and they will say, okay, if majority is saying, they'll go for it. And some are very much autocratic. So that is management style. That is also part of control system, how they are controlling the team. Are they selling it, or are they just making the team frightened, or showing them certain punishment if they don't do the deadlines? Pooja, anything you want to add?
Yes, in relation to how you deal with suppliers or how you're dealing with customers, because in some organization, like there is a kind of a culture that they are paying late to suppliers. So suppliers also know the thing that you would get means late money. And in relation to customers also, how they are giving services to customers. So in some organization that means they think that customer is king, so they support a lot to customer. But in some organization, it's means they take a lot of time means to answer the queries and so many
And
things.
sometimes they'll pay late salaries to the employees also.
Yes, this thing also happens.
And people have different myths around it. Stories will go. So stories and myths. We are looking more on internal, but that example can also fit here. Stories and myth is like people are talking about positively. You know what happens normally? If somebody joins an organization, other people will say, oh, you deserve a better job. Why did you join here? I was also about to leave. People tend to be negative. Very few people will motivate you actually. You don't feel so much of welcoming behavior from colleagues. They might tell you negative stories, there's no future here. Maybe it's still there, or it can be part of work politics. So that is stories and myths. Nikhil, any example you want to add? Nikhil, are you there?
Yeah, Misbah. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay if you're not comfortable, you just join, no problem. So organizational cultures can be made up of so many things, but these are like 7 things which is very prevalent in every company: stories and myths, symbols, power structure, organizational structure, control system, routines and ritual. and the organizational paradigm and values. It is known as cultural web. We already discussed what is stories, what people tell to each others, what they discuss, what the current staff tell the new staff. Does the stories relate to negative or positive, strength or weakness? If they're talking positive, then it's like about a strength. They're talking negative means they're talking about weakness. Heroes or villains. Routines and ritual. What behavior do routines encourage? Like Shiv gave the example, coming early, going late, all of that. What training program they emphasizes? And sometimes what happens, certain organizations managers are just taking meetings to show off, like their ego massage kind of thing, to show that they are superior, they want to control. I'm being very practical examples. You guys might have seen that. Then organizational structure also, we have seen flat or tall organizations. Control system, basically how they are controlling their employees, how they are monitoring it. Nowadays employees want more flexibility. That means you need to change the control system. Usually to control anybody, you'll have two plans, that is reward or punishment. What is reward? If you do something better, you'll get a bonus. Punishment means if you miss the deadline, there will be certain cut in the salary, or you'll not get the promotion, things like that. Power structure, we have is simple, the manager, the team lead, depend. Symbols, how accessible the leaders are there, how they are looked to outsiders like suppliers and all. They have a good reputation in the market or not, what status they have. Overall, what are the key underlying assumptions that are the paradigm? What are the dominant culture? How easy is this to change? Even a CEO, let's say we got a new CEO, for her also it can be very difficult to change this because they have been doing this for years. Therefore, you must have seen, especially in startups, they talk about we are working on a culture. Culture is very important. If they don't work on culture, then there won't be a sense of goal congruence. Goal congruence means working towards the same goal. There should be a team building event so that people have a good culture at work, positive culture. It's not about just competing every time. Rather, we should focus on collaborating. However, the logic why we're studying here is not to understand the culture, but because if the culture is good, adaptation to the change will be easier. If the culture is not good, adoption to the change will be difficult. You agree with that? Okay, I'll give you one example. We are doing a change. Okay, so what happens? Companies will say, let's say we are updating a software, or we have to do some new training. So they'll expect the employees to work full time what they are doing and spend extra hours in training of that. And for that, they will not pay anything extra. If it is a small training, all employees will support. But imagine if it is a long term. So most of the employees will get motivated, or they might not put the efforts. So what will happen? Your efficiency will reduce. So that is also an part of culture. Going forward, McKinsey 7S model, it looks at corporate culture and the various components that made up of. McKinsey saw culture as 7 interconnected elements. Again, this is another part of culture. But what this guy is saying is, we need to divide it into 2 sections. One is hard, one is soft. Basically, what is hard is common in all the organization. Let's say it is there in Saefwell also, G4S also, Prosegur also. But soft will be different in every organization. Let's say structure. What is structure of the organization? A tall organization or a flat. If I give you the example of big fours, accounting companies, how the structure is, usually they are flat organizations. Even security company can be flat organizations.
What do you mean by flat, Misbah?
Flat means you don't have a lot of hierarchy level. Like you have somebody, there are 5 people, then a manager, then another 5 manager, senior, then another 5 people, another thing. So lot of layers.
Okay, means very approachable, means you mean to say. Or
No,
layers.
not about people. Tall means you have various levels. For example, there is a CEO, sitting at the board. Then you have a vice president, let's say. Then from vice president to somebody who is new joining, there may be like 6 to 7 levels everybody is working at. That means it's a very tall organization. Flat organization means you have CEO, you have vice president, then you have the middle team, just 3 4 levels.
Okay.
So example is government organizations. Government organizations usually is tall. You have so much of hierarchy level. You cannot approach to directly to the top boss. What they will say, you have to just connect to your immediate manager or line manager. You cannot go directly. But in flat, they'll know each other and they'll be approachable. However, why I am saying this is part of hard, because in certain businesses you have to follow flat, you have to follow tall structure. So that can be copied easily. Because in certain places, let's say bank, you have to have a layers. If you don't have layers, it will be difficult, even for the security and the trust and so many other things. In franchisee model also, you need to have tall organization. But in consultancy business, or let's say service business especially, you're running a 5-star hotel. So a senior manager should also understand how things are working at operational level. Because if they don't give a very good service, immediately they'll switch, they'll go to the competitors. Operational and the strategic team should be very closely connected. So most of the service industry, or especially luxury businesses, they'll be a flat organizations. They'll not put a lot of hierarchy. Why? Because of hierarchy, it will take a lot of time to get the information. And once you respond, the time is already gone. Make sense? So structure is common. Then systems, what systems do we need to use to develop and execute the strategy? Sometimes the strategy can also be same in certain industry. Let's say it's a clothing business. So they are usually working on push. They'll give discount, they will do subscription model, things like that. Strategy, what should we do to solve these specific problems? Again, problems can be similar. There are two types of problem a business can face. One is external, one is internal. External can be same. If it is, let's say, economic issue, regulation issue, things like that. Next is soft. What is soft? Soft can be different. Style. We don't need to have same, or you will never see a same leadership style. Even within a company, if you have two managers, you guys must be also working as managers. So you'll not have same style like other person at your level, isn't it? So this will be different. Staff. How do we assist our managers in their skills and knowledge growth? So how they are dealing with the staff, their internal training, or if somebody joins new, are we helping them to uh, you know learn the things? Skills can be again different. Let's say there are two competitors. Now we are Saefwell is there, G4S is there. Can we say both the employees are similarly skilled? Maybe in our company we are getting more people who are part of army previously, and maybe our competitors, we have people who was a part of the police, or they are part of, let's say, some sporting team, because we are looking at physical fitness. So skills will also be different. Maybe they are immediate competitors, but skills will be different. You got the point? Shared values. Shared values is very similar to what we discussed in the previous one. What values they share. Again, they are working on personally, or they are looking for a team. What team building exercise they have. So all in all, this will make an organization. So to understand the organization, you can use that web, what we have seen previously, or you can use McKinsey 7S model. What is the logic here? Why we are studying this? To understand our organization. If you know our organization better, you can see what kind of change strategy we can build. Are you able to connect the dots, all of you? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We
Yes,
are able
Misbah.
to.
You're getting the point, right? Why we are studying this model
Yes,
in
yes,
change.
right. Yeah. Yes.
The logic is simple. You have to know your own organization. Imagine that. I'm not talking about Saefwell. Imagine a company. Let's say there is a company called ABC, and there is a lot of internal conflict keeps on going on. It's normal. Like manager is not supportive. People don't like manager. Manager is not treating good. HR is not helping them for growth. They are not get salary in time. And there is another company XYZ, same size, same business, immediate competitor, same competitor, but they have a better values. They are paying also decent, and employees are considerably happy. So where do you think we'll have better change management? Usually in the second company, right? But sometime it can be in the first company also. So who will decide? Who is the better person to decide what strategy to follow in the change? Let's say it's an external change. The person or the manager leader who understand how our organization is currently working, how the culture is. So if we don't know the culture, we cannot predict the change. We cannot make a change strategy. Clear? Now, if you talk about Saefwell, our company, in the pre-scene, they will not give you detail about how the culture is. And even in exam, they won't ask you specifically for this. But you can just talk about it in general. Let's say there is any question related to change. So you can talk about saying that we need to be very careful with our culture before selecting the strategy for the change. And you can give some examples. Next is resistance to change. Why people or group don't like change. I mean, this is very basic. You guys only give one example. Why anybody will not like change in an organization? Maybe a big, small, internal, external, that doesn't matter. Why they don't like change, or why we will not like change as a person.
Because
It can be.
okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
Go on, go on.
It can be because of different reasons. Because, for example, we are on a particular level, or we have so much authority, and if there is a change, then in that case, means it might affect our means that status, right? And the other thing is that if there is a change, there might be new things need to learn, and then there are new requirements. So it can be that we don't know those skills, right? So a new people can be hired in this case, and we can be released. So, or we have to learn new things. So there can
It's
be
extra
different
effort.
reasons.
Yes.
Hmm.
So you have to do extra effort apart from that. Okay. Next.
Like
And
if you say like we are into the comfort zone currently, right? If we have some changes, like some new leaders has come, right? So their attitude, their way of doing business, their way of working style is different, right? So that also we don't require that change. So since we are in the comfort zone, we don't like changes.
Right. So basically, we
also
have
it
to
can
go beyond us.
impact
Yes.
your salary maybe. The emotion scared of that.
Yes. There is a chance of demotion. Why? Because they might be automating part of the work what you do. So you'll feel like, okay, I'm not bringing in the same value to the organization.
Also, like let's say there is a change in the technology, like the new software we are taking care of, right? So that also we need to learn different skills, and it will create additional workload to us. So that also it's changed. So we don't want to happen this thing.
Very good. Nikhil?
I would say the authority, mate. People have a fear of losing authority, like positions. So
Right. So there
if
is a
one
lack
person
of,
is, yeah,
sorry, continue.
yeah, if one person is doing a duty, and when the change happened, he might have a feeling like the responsibility, the position that he hold might change in future. So he will be reluctant. You don't feel like to change anymore.
Right. Good example. So what can happen? Let's say there is a manager who is working for 15 years and suddenly they want to do major changes with digitization. So you might think, I am not updated myself, and my team members who are quite young, they are still good with me, better than me in the terms of technical aspect. So tomorrow when we digitize completely, then they might become my boss, or at least they'll come similar to me. I lose the authority. So this is very common. We talk about organizations, but we should understand, as a human, first they will think about their job security, their future. Nobody will say, okay, company should be succeeding, but I'm ready to fail. No. These things can be divided into three factors. First is personal factors, like the last one, feel less valued, criticism, work become boring can be there. Job factor can be there, the first one what we started. Technological unemployment can be there. Fear of changes, you have to upgrade or work extra hard. Fear of demotion is there. Another factor, we have not taken an example, but this can also be there, social factors. We don't like the manager who is leading the change. We don't like the person who is leading the change. Or we don't like the change, how it is implemented. Maybe it was so much of autocratic. You would have felt that, I worked at a senior level and they should have informed me or taken my opinion. So people might dislike. Let's say a company is not asking even senior managers for their opinion and forcing them to change. So they might not support it. They want to, but they will not support. Why? Because their ego got hurt or they felt less valued. Okay. So we'll continue with the next chapter. Next chapter is just extension of that. Now what will happen? We have seen what is change. We have seen the types of change, revolution, evolution, all of that. Then we have seen the styles. We have seen the cultural web and what is internal to the business. Then last one, that reason why people can oppose the change. Now, next chapter is how you will manage that. We are looking at impact of change, but now how you will manage the change. So firstly, to manage the change, we need a leader. And we are not talking about traditional leader like CEO or a CFO, anybody. But we need a leader who is just focusing on the change, because nothing will happen on its own. And especially when you're talking about major change, we need to have a strategy. We need to have a responsibility. So the person who is responsible for that particular change, there will be so many changes. So for each change, you can have a change leader specifically for that. So who is the change leader? When they say change leader, you should think about specific change. Now we are talking about in general. Okay. A change leader is a key figure within the organizations who takes overall responsibility and control for the proposed change within the organization. So what is the keyword here? Responsibility and control. For major organizations, wide changes, this role may well be best filled by the CEO, especially something which happens the entire organization level, or let's say it is external. The CEO is expected to be a changer, but is it mandatory? No. But it can be taken by anyone with appropriate power and leadership skills within the organization. So what does the role of change leader? Role of change leader, they have given certain examples. Let's say they have got ask you a question in exam, and what should be the role of change leader? If you feel something and if you have some logical point in your mind, you can say. You don't need to just copy what they have given here in the textbook. So what they are saying, role of change leader means to make something effective, a change leader can follow a certain strategy. So what it can be, establish a sense of urgency. Imagine if you don't say it's urgent, people won't take it, because we already have so much to do with our current job, current work. Everybody is focusing on month end, quarter end, and the current pressure. They will not say or put efforts if something is to do after 6 months or next year. So this is a psychological practice. When if you see, when you buy something, what marketing companies are doing, they're creating a sense of urgency, exclusivity, offer valid till Sunday, offer valid for 2 weeks. Why they do it? Because they understand if they give for, let's say, 6 months, then compared to just 1 month, in 1 month they'll do more sales, because everybody wants to feel like, okay, I will miss it. They'll create a FOMO, fear of missing out. Same thing we have to do here, sense of urgency. The change leader needs to help others see needs for change and convenience them that it must be implemented promptly. Failure to create a sense of urgency, there will be lack of motivation from staff. Second is guiding coalition. So it's not like you're ordering them directly. You should not just control everything, but guiding coalition is like making a team, assemble a group. For every department you can have a group, and maybe you can have a group leader also. So ultimately helping them and achieving and working as a team. Next is change vision. Change vision is all about communication. If you see this point and second point, communicating the vision, first is create a vision, second is communicate a vision. Best example here, you can even think this as a political party also sometime, because they'll, any party, they'll say sense of urgency is there, we need to come in power. They'll create a guiding coalition with small parties. They'll create a vision, if we come to power we'll do this. They'll make something and they'll communicate the vision with the people. They'll try to sell, this is not happening, correct, if we come we'll do like that. Same thing in the business, this strategy is not working or this thing is not working, we need to upgrade our machineries, we need to upgrade our technology, we need to change our suppliers, we need to change our manufacturing methods. So first create a vision, second is communicate it. Why they have done it separately? These 2 points are very close, but still you will think why they have repeated it. Because many times vision is there, but it's only limited to the senior position. They are not able to successfully communicating it to the operational level, to every member of the organization. And until they communicate it to every member of the organization, they will not be motivated to do that. If you see the last line, they are saying, okay, the leader needs to communicate the vision and strategies identified in the previous stage to as many stakeholders as possible. We are not talking about our own employees, maybe our suppliers, vendors, everybody. This will maximize buy-in. Buy-in means accepting it, trusting it. Next step is empowering broad-based action. Again, one thing I want to clarify is you don't need to learn these points. These are for understanding. Okay, case study is not required. Individual paper, sometimes they'll ask these steps. Okay, empowering broad-based action means you should have actions. First step is this, second step is this. Small steps you have to do. And for every steps, you have to create a short-term wins. Because if you make something very big, then it can be demotivating. So therefore, make a broad-based action, small steps. And when you are doing it, create short-term wins. So people are motivated with that, because some changes can be very big. It can take more than a year also. So how to keep them motivated continuously? In fact, I'll tell you one funny thing. In one of our SCS exam, we have got a question that how to motivate our employees without giving them bonus. Company doesn't have enough retained earnings and you want to motivate them. So that's what we are creating here. We have to motivate them without spending the money. Right? Never letting up or not giving up, because most of the plans will not go exactly how you have planned. There will be more problems. There will be some information which was not available before. Last one is incorporating change into the culture. And ultimately, incorporating means you are taking away the previous way of doing. Let's say it was about manufacturing, so you can just discard the previous machinery. Don't just keep it, half people are using that, half people are using this. No, there should be no way that people are going back to the previous way of working. Continually enforce the change and communicate and reward achievement. The stage looks at ways of ensuring that new change a standard part of every day and prevent staff from slipping back to their old habits. How you'll prevent them? You'll not have any access to the previous one and you'll discard everything which was being done previously. Because when something is done for years and now you want to change in months, it's easier after doing all of this also, people will slip back to the previous one. Okay. Any question in this? Yes, no?
No.
Next is the leadership style. So this is related to the first one. People have factors of objecting the change, personal, social, job. In the same thing, this is the answer to that question. How you can do that? Methods of overcoming the resistance. How you'll overcome it? First is participation. You'll communicate them, make a team, involve them. Education and communication, educate them how it will help them. Let's say they will not lose the job. They'll still get the promotion, they'll still get the position, they'll still have the same powers. Next is power and coercion. Power and coercion is like, okay, if you don't want, you leave the job, being very strict. This is usually the last option company will follow. If they feel like this is very important and the employees are not supporting it, the last option is to use power and coercion. Next, we can use felicitation and support. Facilitate them, support them. Let's say they want to work hard, work extra, then we'll reduce the current job. Current working hours will be reduced. Manipulation and cooptation. This is actually term unethical, but this is also done. Manipulation, basically manipulating them, telling them lies that you will not lose the job, and not giving them correct information. This is also very common actually. It's not illegal, but it's unethical. Last one is negotiation. Negotiation is like we'll compromise something and we'll expect the employees or the team to compromise. These are like leadership style. Do you guys have anything in the mind how we can use a leadership style, or what style will help us to overcome the resistance from the employees? Like you gave the example, what can be the reason? Can you think a solution of it? Just logical, I'm asking.
Motivation, to motivate them.
Motivate them for what? Okay, motivate in a way that some people will do it, not support it, thinking that they are not good enough and all. Okay, like that you can do it.
We can do like this by linking their objective with the organization objective. Because if they want something, they want means a salary hike, they want promotion. So we would link that if we would grow, then you would grow. So, and for this growth purpose, we need change. So you have to follow in this case.
Right. Good answer. That's a little bit similar to education communication, but yeah. Anything else? Alex, you want to add something?
Yeah, maybe try to involve them in the decision making. But I think that would require them to also have extensive knowledge of the business and the external environment.
Okay.
Then in terms of like some company growing, so we can give you like a later stage some sort of I don't know, ESOP or something like that, employee stock option. So later stage,
Okay, so
some sort of
basically, right, sharing the rewards. Usually we'll do to
Yeah.
obviously grow.
Yeah.
Right.
So, for example, few companies give kind of retention bonus or
Good example.
some other things.
Okay, so you got the concept. There can be so many examples for that. Same thing they have mentioned here. You can just read it. Then there is another model of change. We have seen 8 step, but there is this guy Lewin, and he's making it very simple. He's just saying when you want to change, first is unfreeze. Unfreeze means just change the current way of working. Change means stop working from the current way. Change, bring the new change, then refreeze. Refreeze like making it stick again. Or maybe in refreeze we can say we'll discard the previous way of working. We'll keep rewarding initially when people are using the new way of working. Unfreeze, change, refreeze. Because if you don't unfreeze, we cannot change. Firstly, we have to bring people from the current way of working, making them come out of the mind. That is readiness to change. This is the most difficult part, in fact. People not ready to change. So what we see in the previous question, how you will say, you talk about retention bonus and everything, what it was unfreezing, it was making them ready for the change. The difficult part is making them ready for the change, because it's very uncomfortable. Then changing it, and obviously make the entire process as comfortable as possible. Then last and again important is refreezing. If you don't do refreeze properly, people again go back to unfreeze, because they are more confident with that.
Refreezing in the sense means, like, to stick to that, right? Means once
Stick to
the
the
change
new one.
happened.
Yes. Let's say you have done training for employees, and once the training is done, you are giving him free hand to work in the previous way, also the new way you have trained them. So that means you don't have refreezing. When you have trained them, means they are not allowed to work in the previous way, or the way
Yeah,
to work in the previous software or previous method doesn't exist.
correct.
Let's say they are working like that for 5 years, and now in 2-3 months you want them to change. So it's human behavior, they can come back to that. If you just
Correct.
look it carefully, unfreeze, change, and refreeze, if I go back to the 8 model, is one and the same. Okay. If you see, establishing sense of urgency, guiding collation, change vision, communicating change, all these 4 steps is part of unfreeze. If you think logically, here we are doing unfreezing only. It's all about making them ready. Is any change happening in this 4th step? Nothing is happening. It's all just preparation, isn't it? Are you doing anything in establishing a sense of urgency, creating guiding collation, change vision? It's just on the talk. Does anything happen in the ground here? No, isn't it? Now, if you go to the next step, empowering broad-based actions, generating short-term wins, never letting up, this is actually where the change is happening. So this is the second step, isn't it? Here the work has started. Then last one, incorporating changes into the culture, is about refreezing. So the 8th step is also similar to that 3 step. They just made it short. Are you able to link both?
Yes.
It's one and the same. Same thing they have added here. New patterns of behavior, new reporting relationships.
So this is leave-in method, right? This is.
Yes.
And the earlier one is a standard one, right? Which we
Yes.
discussed.
Force field analysis is the same thing. When people resist, how you drive them. Very similar to the previous one. Only thing is, it's a different author. So what they have done in the textbook is same thing they have explained with a different way. For example, now they have used the word force field analysis. Force field analysis means people are restraining and you are driving them, motivating them. So driving force, if you want to look, is nothing but same thing, leadership style, method of overcoming resistance. This means driving them, motivate to do. So what I'll recommend is, you don't need to remember the name and everything. Just understand the logic. It's one and the same thing. You can follow this also, that also, or both. In case study exams, you're not expected to know the name and everything. They've just given some different ideas we can use. Again, restraining force can be job reason, personal reason, social reason. Driving forces can be same, fresh challenge, improve rewards or retention, what you said, increase job discretion, give bonuses. They are here, we are here, and we have to bring them to ideal state. But remember, there is one option of negotiation also. So maybe they will not come till ideal state, but they'll be somewhere here. So we have to negotiate and get the work started. Negotiation is better than losing the deal. Right? Are you getting the point?
So can I ask you one thing?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Nikhil, tell me.
So, can you give me an example, like, what kind of question we can expect from the case study related to the change?
Usually I have not seen any direct question coming to this in last 3-4 years. But indirectly, you can showcase this knowledge. It can be an indirect question. Let me give you an example. Now, let's say a company is doing manufacturing in country C land, okay, and you have, let's say, 6,000 employees. Now you want to move your manufacturing from C land to China because you are saving 50% of the cost. So what will happen? The local people will lose job. So they will try to stop this change happening. They'll try to restrain, isn't it? So question can be for you: shall we go with the project, or what will be the advantage and disadvantage of doing that? So in disadvantage, you can talk about the change. Change management can be very difficult. The restraining forces will be very high. We need to develop strong driving forces. Sometimes what happen, we are just, let's say, 20% of the employees are leaving job or have to lose job, but other 80% might also get demotivated. So you might have to improve rewards, give them job discretion, give them safety and security. So indirectly this thing can be answered. If you see directly, indirectly, everything is a change. If you do acquisition, what will happen? There is a change in the culture. Yes or no? If you do a strategy which is more risky, there is also a change. So change aspect is indirectly tested. And in change management, you have to show your people skill. You need 5 skill in CIMA. What are they? Leadership skill, people skill, business skill, technical skill, and digital skill. So change is all about, or I will say mostly about, people skill. Does it make sense, Nikhil?
Yes, Mr. Yes.
Even if they don't ask, if you feel like with this strategy there will be a massive amount of change or a good amount of change will happen, you can write a paragraph. Change management need to be taken care of properly, understand the needs of people, communicate it properly. I would say this is also a part of risk. If your employee doesn't support, that will also become a risk. When we do stakeholder analysis, that time also we can link this. If your own employee is not supportive, how we can be successful in that?
Like Misbah, just example you have given, like from the sea land to China, that we are moving our manufacturing units, right? So definitely people, they will resist to change, right? To because they definitely they will lose the job, right? Correct. So now when we shift and see, we decided, right, as a senior finance manager, so we need to recommend, right, whether we need to move or not. So it depends on this. So there is a cost saving, like if you move the manufacturing units. So, but the things is that we need to employ there in China itself their local people, right? Not from our sea land people, right? We need to terminate them, correct?
Yes.
So in this case, the political pressure will also come now, because if we are losing like 5,000, 6,000 employees here, then it will be difficult, right? So that political pressure will also come, means the union and all those things, if there.
And also add even the local government. So when we make stakeholder analysis, I told you to add government. So what does government need from any company? They need you to pay in tax, right? Comply to the
Yeah.
laws and give employment, maximum employment. That will come, but we have to see. We cannot satisfy all the stakeholders all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Clear? Next
Okay.
is theory E and theory O. Again, this is very similar. So what they are saying is, when change happens, okay, you have two options. One is you follow a software approach. We'll start with theory O first. These are software approach. So basically communicate them, educate them, give them bonuses, plan for their future. Let's say we are going to China, but it's mandatory for us. So we'll not be harsh. Okay, we'll give you 6 months salary. We'll support you to get new job. We'll recommend you to our stakeholders, our suppliers, our clients, everybody to get you a job. We'll train you for the new job. This is a software approach. This involves changing, obtaining feedback, reflecting, then making further changes. So basically more of democratic approach. But second one is, you are saying, I want to go China, I am saving cost. We don't care about the stakeholders. We care only about profits. That is shareholders. That is theory E. a strict approach. This is soft approach, this is strict approach. These are based on measures where shareholders value is the main concern. Who is shareholders? The owners. Change usually involves incentives, layoffs, downsizing, and restructuring. So usually when you have to take strict approach, you have to follow theory E. Or you can remember in certain way, like when you are thinking about others, theory O. When you are thinking only about profit or shareholders, theory E. Okay, you tell me now, which theory is good? Which theory would you recommend for our business?
Depend on the situation. Ideally, theory O is good, but again, if if shareholder agrees and everything, then theory will also apply in certain cases.
Right. Very good answer. It depends. We cannot say theory O is good or theory E is good. Ideally, theory O, but if you do only theory O, we cannot have profits. Ultimately, the company is doing business for profit. So we have to take certain strict decisions. So theory is also important. It depends on the scenario. That's what they have mentioned. Both the approaches have drawbacks. Both the approaches have advantage and disadvantage. For example, theory E approach will tend to ignore feelings and attitudes of their employees, which will often lead to a loss of motivation and commitment from staff members. This can damage the competitive advantage. Whereas theory O, it will be difficult or it will fail to take tough decisions, which are important. So what these guys are saying, Beer and Noria, we have to follow both or try to balance, as we just discussed. Okay. Then the last section of the chapter, change agents. So what is change agent? So we have seen in the start the change leader. So what companies can do, you can have a change leader from within, or sometimes you can hire somebody from outside to become a change agent. Change agent, change leader are very close. Change agents are figures who are familiar and non-threatening to other people. Sometimes what happens, the managers have not created good bonding with the employees. So whatever they say, people will like to oppose it. Employees will like to oppose it. And sometimes it's not manager's fault also, as we can understand. It's the pressure they're getting from the top leaders, isn't it? So they'll get somebody from outside who is someone, very charismatic, and people will have some trust, things like that. But it can be somebody internally also who is good in communication skill, who is actually capable of making things done. You must have seen certain people, they have that charisma, they have that skill, they are born leaders, right? They can be change agents. So what this is the role of change agents? Define the problem and its cause. The change agent should be able to identify restraining forces and potential resistance. Why they are restraining? Because what happens, employees will say one thing, but they have other thing in their mind. Second is diagnose solution and select appropriate course of action. So basically, you have restraining force, now you have motivation force. Directly, indirectly, information is repeating in the chapter. Third is implement change. This was about refreezing, now this is about change. Once management have made their decisions about which course of action to take, it will need to be implemented. Third is transmit the learning process to others and the organization overall. One more role of this is they should document. When they say transmit the process, they should document entire process. Why they are doing documenting? Usually the change agent can be outsider. So what will happen tomorrow if you have any issue, you cannot call that person. Maybe that person is not available or that consultancy is not available. So what you will do? So it's better to document the process, how it is done, what were the processes followed and everything. So if you have any problem, you can just go back to this. Maybe you are aware about this thing. This happens in audit also. Yes, they will document the process, right? Why they document the process?
Because to keep the record actually.
Yes, same.
Audit working paper.
Because next year you will have a new auditor. What are the skills of change agent? Clarity in defining, sensitive to impact of change. If you see, the skills required here is more of I would say people skill, team building skill, networking skill, communication skill, personal enthusiasm, stimulating commitment, all of this, negotiation. These are not technical skill if you see, it's more of emotional quotient and all of those. Creating vision, selling thing, resolving conflicts, negotiating. Political awareness also important. Political awareness, they are not talking about the geopolitical that thing internally in the business, in the team, in the organization. Balancing goals and perception. Helicopter perspective, or you can say bird's eye view. So somebody who is more matured, who understand the business, who understand the industry, who understand people. Because what happened now, 90% of the employees, what their mindset is, they want to work in one organization and after 2-3 years they want to jump. So things like this should be obvious with the change leader or the change agent. Next is mentoring. Mentoring is another part of it. However, you can put this in communication training. Mentoring is what? Mental training. Coaching is different, mentoring is different, right? Some people will get confused between mentoring and coaching. Mentoring is more about telling how to think, right? How to approach, how to plan. But coaching, on the other hand, will be specific, what to plan, what to do. But mentoring is not like that. So part of managing change is helping employees to perform well after the change process is complete. What is mentoring? It refers to process where managers offers help, guidance, advice, support, learning and development of another. Let's say somebody is not happy with the job. It's not about money, but they don't see the career growth. So the manager or the change agent can mentor them, or anybody who is leader in the organization can mentor them. Like, you need to, let's say, upskill yourself. You need to have some technical uh, knowledge, or you should have new skills to upgrade yourself, or even they can be a role model so people are following them. Usually people expect this from a manager. However, in big companies, if I talk about Deloitte, they'll have a mentor separately and a manager separate. They'll plan it properly. Key features of mentoring include no specific period, does not have formal process, it seeks to build wisdom. Primary thing is wisdom. And what is coaching? Coaching is just opposite to that. It's just specific. Coaching is defined as developing a person's skills and knowledge so that their job performance improves. So when you talk about job, everybody is doing different job, different role. That means specific things should be improved. So that will help them to achieve an organizational objective. Let's say somebody is in sales. So we'll coach them how to do sales, how to talk, how to negotiate, isn't it? It targets high performance and improvement at work. It usually lasts for a short period and focus on specific skills and goals. This is not about wisdom. It's only about that specific skill. They have an example of improvement on IT skill. What includes coaching? It tends to take place on one-on-one basis, very specific purpose. It's not mandatory one-on-one basis, but maybe somebody who is for the same goal. To have a planned program that is followed over a set time period to help individual being coached. Coaching and mentoring is same? Obviously, no. Ultimately, both is important in organization to help the employees, but there is a difference. Again, why we are reading this in this chapter? Because this is a part of motivating the change. This is a part to reduce the restraining forces. Both are flexible and evolutionary approaches. It's not very rigid. They require similar skills from individual acting as a coach or mentor. What are the similar skill? Critical friend or a people skill, all of those. Managing decline. Okay, last section of this chapter is managing decline. Then we'll close this class. So what is managing decline? Ethics is also there. Managing decline means, let's say tomorrow Saefwell loses the clients And especially in B2B business, what will happen? If one client also go, you might lose 10% of the revenue. Right? Because when we take risk, when we launch new product, and when we go to new market, things will not always be successful. Right? So businesses are not always successful at expanding their business. Many managers may therefore find themselves having to manage decline rather than growth. I know one of my student, he was going for interview, and the employer asked him, why did you leave the organization? He was senior manager. He said the company went into decline and they are making losses. Then he was like, why didn't you do anything? Why I should hire you? Because if there's a decline here, you'll again lose. Or maybe you are the reason why company is declining. He doesn't have any answer. He was not expecting that. Right? So managers have to talk about decline, because when we just plan and everything, we become very optimistic. Not every business can win. Right? When attempting to help a business recover from a period of decline, managers' strategic priorities are likely to reduce costs, improve efficiency, improve competitiveness. Anyways, this is very basic. You tell me, for Saefwell or on business in journal, let's say declining, we'll talk about reduced sales. What a business can do if we are facing a reduction in our revenue. Just logical points. One is enough from all, each of one of you.
Misbah,
So there can be product development, there can be market development, or there can be mix of that, diversification. Or
But that is again, Pooja, very risky, because you're already failed. Let's say you have done product development, that product failed. So you want to launch another product?
or else they can be in the in the same market penetration, also in the same market. They are like advertisement, or means some kind of
Advertisement, yeah. Marketing strategy they can change. Good point.
yeah, different marketing strategies motivate to employees to do work hard, to do for a long period of time work. So these kind of strategies can be adopted by an organization.
or maybe to add some additional features to their services and to charge a slight premium on the pricing.
You're saying if you charge premium, your business will grow, not discounting.
Not discounting, but we are giving additional services also, slight, some additional features we have added in our business. So that's why we are charging a little on this. If
Okay.
they want.
It means it's by change management, kind of by doing some changes.
Again, it depends. If it is, you're selling something which is basic need, people will not be happy to pay extra. You have to see it is like luxury. I mean, basically need or wants. With luxury products, premium also people will pay for extra services. Basic product, it can be difficult. Because we are talking about times where things are not doing good. Let's say last 3 years, our revenue is reducing 10% per year. From last 3 years to today, we have seen 30% reduction in the revenue. So it's a
So
very
we will
big
find
challenge.
out we find out the reasons for that, and would work according to those reasons. Whatever reasons are there behind that. If there is some technology change required, then we would go according to that. Because if a competitor are adopting a new technology and we are not adopting, so we would do accordingly. If there is some cost cut required, so we would do. So it depends upon that. What are the factors which cause this reason? So
Let's say
get
it is
into them.
something like Jio. Your competitor started giving the service for free. He said, "I'll give 1 year for free, better service and 100% free."
Yeah, then in that case, we would do we would bring some new changes in our service so that we can attract the customer that, okay, they are giving free, but they have not such features which we are providing. So,
Right.
We will not give free. We will not give free, but we'll give additional benefits to that. Like what this Jio has done. Jio has
yes.
given free services, internet to this user for last 2 years, right? And that's why the Airtel competitions, if you look at that in other telecom brands, they failed, right? but still, they have reduced the prices, but they are not giving free.
Right.
So what
We
about
cannot do
relaunching
business
the
in,
product?
at a loss. We cannot do business at a loss. Simple.
Yes. Like now I was using Reliance Jio, sorry, in the India for TV for broadcast, but earlier I was using Airtel. So Airtel said that our services are good. I said that the cost in the Jio is less, but they said that we are giving the good services, quality is good, differentiation is there. So we can work like this also.
Right.
Misbah, what about relaunching the legacy product?
Any example you want to give?
Yeah, I can give you some. Recently, Cadbury have relaunched their 1952 edition. So, and we have in India like especially a bike called, which is made out of a navy cup, navy ship. So people have a tendency to try it, and for example, Vespa scooter.
Right.
So when they relaunched that thing and they haven't changed any price, and people might have if that has been, in the old days it was doing great, and at this point of time mm, they ended the production and they are relaunching it now.
Right. So something it was successful, you can try. It's a risk because people might not accept it, or maybe we can do the changes and launch it that way. Okay, possible.
But for like Misbah, you given the example for the last year, the revenues were declined, right? So in that scenario, like we need to find the root cause, right, for this decline, correct?
Yes.
And then we need to adopt the method to improve this one. Like if something is happening real, there is maybe internal problem or the external problem. We need to identify, and then
Yes.
accordingly we need to do our action.
Yes. Sometimes what happens, we are already losing, we are in risk, and we might have to take more risk to come out of it. And imagine the second time also we lost. So it will be very difficult. When things are going good, we can take risk. But usually when things are going bad, the risk capacity will go down. Psychologically also we'll think, okay, now we have to maintain certain standards, then we can take risk. Okay.
Ideally, the question will come in this way only, right, Misbah? Like, the revenues have been declined and, you have to advise us, whether how to improve our revenue, something like that, correct?
Yes. If I tell you one good news, in the last exam, we were lucky also. 90% of the questions that came in the exam was what we discuss in our classes: E3, P3, F3, SCS, pre-C. Because what questions I am trying to give and discuss is actually what they ask in the exam. Because these are not limited to E3. We have talked about risk also now. We have talked about a little bit about F pillar also. So start thinking like this. And the answer you are giving, if you just write in a similar way, that is the correct answer. Obviously, it needs to be a little bit of quantity and improvise, but this is the way we should approach. Right. So there are 4 approaches. What we can usually do, what you said also is correct. But in normal scenario, first is retrenchment. This involves doing the same as before, but drastically cutting the cost. This reduce cost everywhere possible. Second is the organization's reposition itself within the market for competitive advantage. Reposition. Some of you said right that we should highlight what we are doing. That is marketing and everything. That's the second example. Divestment. Divestment is like you have a big business, sell some part of the business. Maybe that is not giving loss, or maybe it is a dog product, decline product. You know what? Dog and decline, same thing. External sale of the part of the organization, or just close it. Last one, unfortunately, it should not be happening, but liquidation. Just sell the business and go away. The organization is sold to one or more buyers. This is an admission of failure by the senior managers in normally a last resort.
Like Nokia.
Yes, Nokia is still there, but in mobiles
Still
they
there,
are
but
kind of liquidation.
yeah.
Yes. Whichever approach is taken, it is important that business acts ethically towards its stakeholder when making tough decisions. Management should not think about themselves, but ultimately the shareholders. Because what happened if you are selling the business and the other players are actually paying money to the shareholders, so shareholders might be happy. But we know we are going in loss, but still we are not selling it. We are thinking, okay, we'll try again, try again. So slowly the value of business will come down. The shareholders will not get anything. The share price will be very, very less, almost nothing. That means the management was selfish. Therefore, they have talked about ethics. That's what the last part is, ethics and change management. So basically, ethics, what are the 5 ethics? Integrity, objectivity. We'll see that again also in the P3 and F3 also is there. Ethics means we have to take care about all the stakeholders. Fair treatment, right? Most ethical issues focus on how one stakeholder group is benefited at the expense of another. Excuse me. That means we should not focus only on shareholders, only on suppliers, only on employees, but everybody should get their fair, right? They should get their due. Whether the change is justified, for example, boosting shareholders' profit at the expense of job cuts. If the change involves re-engineering and downsizing, then there will be usually be redundancies. So, there will be a dilemma. We cannot say that increasing profit is wrong or making people redundant is wrong. Both can be correct. But again, you have to find a balance. Deciding on who to make redundance. You know what companies do in COVID also, you might have seen. They will prefer to keep younger employees. Why? Because middle managers cost very high. They have to pay sometimes 10 times the salary of the new joinees, isn't it? So company will say, okay, we'll train them. Even if the quality reduce, little bit will adjust and will make the senior employees let go. Not very senior, middle level, who are replaceable. I know some of our student who was working as a vice president and they were almost like a CFO. They lost the job, and somebody who are working in within their team, they are still working. Reason being, they said you are very costly to the company, and we are doing retrenchment, cutting the cost. But this is unethical. Same thing with discrimination by race, sex, age, all of those. Then manipulation versus participation. Same managers may seek to exploit change to ensure benefit personally, not putting personal benefit before companies. Some people may resist change to protect their own interest. This is unethical, but it's very common. To extent to which plans are made available, or if I need to know, culture is adopted. Misinformation, or we can say manipulation. This is same like manipulation. Giving wrong information, lying to the employees, just to make them do the change. Telling that this is urgent. I mean, there's a lot of jokes also around that. Every time manager will say, this is urgent, this is urgent. But later on you realize that things were not urgent. In day-to-day operation, it might be okay. But when some things are very serious, employees will lose the trust of the manager and ultimately the organization. Why? Because they are giving misinformation. It's not only about urgent, they'll tell more lies. I hope you might have experienced this. So if there is misinformation, they will not trust. Accountant may be asked to manipulate figures to exaggerate the case of change. Manipulating the management information, all of this. These are just examples. We can have so many of them. So this is a part of the change. Any questions?
No.
We have last section of digital strategy, which we'll do tomorrow. Small only. This is very similar to what we do in cyber security. It will help us. Both are related only. So in the meantime, just go through the change management chapters and think what type of change can happen in our business, in security business. What can be internal change, what can be external change, or you can just do some research. You'll get. If you just Google it, as simple as changes happening in security companies, you'll get so much data. Read few of them. At least spend 20-30 minutes. You'll have something important. Okay. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, what time shall we do?